This is the greatest show in sports.
Every single game, it's been a sellout.
It's better than any sporting event I've ever been to.
Major League Baseball is not quite anything like this.
One team down south is taking the sport by storm.
The Savannah Bananas.
Savannah Bananas.
Savannah Bananas.
The Savannah Bananas.
Savannah Bananas.
The Savannah Bananas.
Savannah Bananas are a baseball team with one goal, to make baseball fun.
Fans first.
The number one place to come to and watch baseball.
It's the most fun you can ever have on any sporting event in the world.
A senior citizen dance team called the Banana Nanas, a male cheerleading team called the Mananas, a break dancing coach, a banana baby, and dancing players.
TikTok's going viral.
We have 2 million more followers than every Major League Baseball team.
Now their game is interesting.
It's called Banana Ball.
We have 9 rules.
With a 2-hour time limit, a moratorium on bunting and walks, and if a fan catches a foul ball, it's an out.
It's part sport, part circus.
Whatever's normal, do the exact opposite.
There's a guy pitching on stilts.
Everyone in the stands is involved in everything.
We're not in the baseball business. We're in the entertainment business.
I saw the pitcher twerking.
We'll be traveling all over the country, from coast to coast.
We break down the wall between player and fans.
Bringing the fun back into the game of baseball.
Nationally and internationally recognized.
What's more fun than the bananas of baseball?
Fans want this faster type, exciting way of baseball.
That's what the ball game is all about. It's about having to be entertained.
Genius concept.
You've never seen the national pastime played quite like this.
Banana is so great.
There's a lot to this.
Wait until you see them play.
And it's proving to be the greatest show in sports.
Bananas fans, thank you so much for your support. We love you guys, and Banana Nation, we'll see you soon.
Welcome to Good Seats Still Available, a curious little podcast devoted to exploring what used to be in professional sports. Here's your host, Tim Hanlon.
Welcome back to the podcast that you know and love and can't live without. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Good Seats Still Available. Thank you for finding us. Hope you're doing well, staying warm. My name is Tim Hanlon, and this, of course, is the podcast that on a mostly weekly basis tries to delve into the realms and the bowels, I guess, of what used to be in professional sports. Cannot thank you enough for downloading us, putting us in your earbuds, telling your friends, and them telling 2 friends, and so on and so on. We appreciate it to the max. We are into baseball, and what a perfect time to get into talking about America's pastime, because it's freezing cold outside, and one wonders always longingly in the barren, cold Midwest, Northeast, frankly, all over the place. Texas, for God's sakes, ice and snow and all that kind of stuff. You ever wonder if you're ever going to see green grass again, and the baseball diamond and all the fun stuff. But of course, like life itself, it regenerates and does come back, and we remain ever hopeful despite what Puxatawny Pete or Phil or Joe or whatever his name is might have said earlier this week. Jesse Cole is our guest this week, and you heard there in the sort of a setup what we're going to be talking about. It is the phenomenon, and this is no other word to describe it, of what he and his wife Emily and his team have put together down in Savannah, Georgia. The team is now actually called, of course, for a number of years, called the Savannah Bananas, and they are the talk of minor league baseball and then some. And we're going to get into this fascinating story of Jesse and his wife and his team putting together this extraordinary story of innovation in and around baseball to something that is now being manifest this coming year, actually starting next week, a week after I think this episode drops. the first tour of any of import of this new brand of baseball called Banana Ball. It is something that he has invented and has tweaked, and you're going to hear why in our conversation in his exploits in the sport of baseball, playing at the collegiate level, managerially in the head offices of minor league teams in baseball, and evolving to a more fan-friendly, Fans First. That's actually the name of his company, Fans First Entertainment, and a realization, a recognition that the game itself, classic and historic and full of rules and respect for those rules and the skills involved, is frankly, no other better way to put it, is kind of boring and can be. It has been for some time. The length of time in between plays. We see Major League Baseball finally tinkering with some of those rules, and in the minor leagues experimenting with them. But Banana Ball, its own brand, it takes things to another level, and it has been nothing short of a phenomenon. And if you've ever been to a Savannah Bananas game, whether it was part of, and we'll get into this, the distinctions in a few minutes in our conversation, the Coastal Plain League, one of the top tier collegiate wooden bat leagues, along with the Cape Cod League and some others, as well as exhibition games where the experimentation on tweaking those rules occurred over the last year or so. What now stands in 2023 is literally a national tour of the branded version of the game called Banana Ball, and it is coming to a park near you this coming year. It starts in earnest week after next in West Palm Beach, and will literally go all across the country into various minor league parks all across this great land. And you will, well, let's put it this way. I was going to say you will enjoy this very fan-friendly and entertaining version of the game. That's if you can get a ticket, because these tickets are not available anymore. They're all sold out. They have a backlog of hundreds of thousands of names. But it is coming to your town, or also in Savannah, a whole number of games. But the whole story behind why this is such a thing, if you've seen it on ESPN or seen the highlights on TikTok or on YouTube and stuff, you're going to see and hear more and more of Jesse and this story as the year progresses. But the roots of it is sort of where our conversation will begin in just a few moments' time. It is rooted in minor league baseball. It is rooted in this Coastal Plain League. It is rooted in his first experiences general managing the Gastonia Grizzlies in Gastonia, North Carolina, in that league. The interesting story as to how Savannah became the next part of that journey, the story of Savannah's baseball heritage and its very classic, well-weathered, yet fully charming Grayson Stadium, built in 25, 26 or so. And the total number of teams that have played there, the Sand Gnats, the previous team there, when they moved out in 2015, Jesse said, darn it, let's go into this market. Let's revive baseball, and let's have some fun with it. And let's take what we learned in Gastonia and bring it to a whole nother level in Savannah. And while bowing reverentially towards Savannah's baseball history, and you'll see that actually on the outfield walls at Grayson Stadium, all the various league teams in minor league baseball that played before them. But now, so bowing humbly to that heritage, but literally upon that foundation, reinventing and rethinking what the sport might look like. It is a fascinating story. It is rooted in history. It is reverential towards baseball's past, but it is also all embracing of what the sport can be going forward. And look out, America. Here it comes. It's Banana Ball coming your way. And we're going to talk to the founder and the progenitor and the originator of all this stuff, Jesse Cole, in just a few moments' time. P.T. Barnum, Bill Veck, Mike Veck. There's a whole bunch of components to this unceasingly enthusiastic and positive thinking guy. And we're going to dispense with promotional stuff for our own sake and tell you that as we get ready for this chat coming up, there's a whole bunch of things besides going to the SavannahBananas.com website, where you can see every stinking thing you want to know about the tour, what Banana Ball is, the rules, what they've done in the past, the links to all the social media stuff. It's fascinating and full of stuff. It's great. You will learn a ton if you've never experienced this before. You will also be interested in a whole bunch of books that have come out, and one that's coming out soon in May. The books that are out now, one's called Find Your Yellow Tux by Jesse Cole, and the other one called Fans First, which came out last year. Fans First is I would argue more of both of those books, Find Your Yellow Tux and Fans First, kind of a more business-oriented learnings, things that you can apply from what Jesse and his team have developed and learned over time in this incredible baseball journey. And then the book coming out in May, published by Dutton, is actually going to get into the story that we're going to talk about in a moment. It's called Banana Ball, the unbelievably true story of the Savannah Bananas. And as you'll hear in our conversation, Jesse is very much in perhaps the bottom of the first, maybe the top of the second inning of where he wants to take this team, this story to greater heights. And timely, interestingly, with what Major League Baseball is doing this year, bringing in some of the new rules that have been tested in the minors. I don't know, the flattening of the schedule, where National Leagues and American League teams are playing more robustly against each other, almost to the point of hollowing out what those leagues actually mean or stand for or historically. Don't know. It's certainly a recognition that Major League Baseball needs to evolve its game. But if you really want to get a sense of perhaps one of the most innovative minds as to perhaps how to make the game more fan-friendly and fan-first, here comes our conversation. A wonderful one. Sit back, enjoy, and buckle up, because it's a ride for sure. Jesse Cole, the Savannah Bananas. Here's our conversation we had just a couple of days ago. Please, as always, enjoy. I'm really curious, and I don't know as much about who are you, and where are you coming from in all of this? Were you a baseball fan? Your childhood, your educational background? Because, frankly, to the outsider, it looks like this is not just about a traveling baseball team. It's much more than that.
Well, you're onto something there. Yeah, we can go as deep as you want. This is my first Saturday show, and the kids aren't here today, so I have a little extra time. So I'll go in depth and have fun with you, and wherever you want to go.
So, okay, give me a sense of your upbringing, your childhood, and maybe some of the seeds of your inventiveness, because it's clear you've got a personality that fuels all this, and I'm curious as to how that personality got developed in the first place.
So, do you want to get started right now? Is that where you want to go right now?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Usually I'm used to opening kickoff. So my childhood, I was an only child. My parents got divorced when I was a kid, and the one bond my dad and I had was baseball. So my dad raised me, and growing up south of Boston, we became huge Red Sox fans. So it was back when they had $5 bleacher seats. And so my dad would take me to the Red Sox games. And I remember watching, Mo Vaughn and Phil Plantier and Jody Reed and Wade Boggs, and became a huge baseball guy. And my dad actually bought a indoor baseball facility, became a part owner of South Shore Baseball Club. And I started training there every day, hitting in the cages. And that's really where it started, just a love of baseball, the Red Sox, and playing almost every day since I was 3, 4, 5 years old.
Did you fancy yourself as a player? Were you on that track?
Yeah, I was very fortunate. I started getting college scholarship offers, my freshman, sophomore year. It's when I was fortunate to throw 90 miles an hour up in Massachusetts, and now everyone throws 90. But back then there weren't many, and so I started getting opportunities at Boston College, Northeastern, University of Maine, and then a small Division I school down in South Carolina, Spartanburg, South Carolina, reached out. And I never heard of it. I actually pronounced it Wofford, but it was actually Wofford. And I came down there, and they showed me they were playing South Carolina and Wake Forest and Texas Tech and Georgia Tech. And they said I'd have an opportunity, a two-way guy, and start immediately. And they upped to one of the biggest scholarships they've ever offered. And so I took that and came down to Wofford College and started my baseball career at the college level.
See, that's fantastic because it's also Wofford's a really good example of a D1 type school that's obviously much smaller. It's almost sort of a larger college than it is a university per se. And it gives you a more, I'm guessing a more familial, you actually will remember people the next day walking around campus and stuff, yet you're playing kind of with the bigs, which is kind of cool. Maybe resource-wise, you're a little, in the shadows of, say, these larger public universities. But it seems like you kind of had the best of both worlds in that kind of environment, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it was unique. It was the second smallest Division I school in the country, 1,100 students. So, it wasn't much bigger than my high school that I had in a small town in Scituate, Massachusetts. So, it was, you knew everybody. We were very close, obviously, the baseball guys. And, that was the big dream for me. Ever since I was a kid, I envisioned getting the phone call from the Boston Red Sox getting drafted. And I was like, all right, here's an opportunity. I'm going to start right away in front of unbelievable competition and hopefully have that opportunity.
All right. So you're mentioning the word dream. What happened to that dream?
Fortunately, the best thing that ever happened to me, I tore my shoulder. And from a professional standpoint, I would say my wife, actually meeting her, was definitely the best thing that ever happened to me. But
Good recovery. Good recovery.
But the best thing back then, I was getting letters from the New York Mets and the Padres and the Braves and the Pirates and getting all these letters. I was like, all right, this is an opportunity. And then my senior year, tore my shoulder, labrum, 2 rotator cuff tears. I went in with Dr. Andrews in Birmingham, Alabama. He tried to get me back, but just couldn't come back. And so that was it, right like that. And I never knew what I was going to do. So that's when, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I got to think that's so you're putting a nice positive spin on it now in retrospect. But what was your feeling at the time?
Oh, it was devastating. It was devastating. My father came down, that was all I was ever going to do was a baseball, And so then everyone said, all right, well, you're obviously going to go into coaching. Your dad was a coach. You understand the game. You've been around the game for so long. So, I went and coached in the Cape Cod League and with Katuitt Kettleers with Coach Mike Roberts. And it was at that point, sitting in the dugout with the best players in the entire country, the best seat in the house, that I realized something. It was my aha moment, similar to Walt Disney when he had his aha moment at Griffith Park with his 2 daughters on the carousel. And he said, I wish there was a place that adults and kids could have fun together. And that's where the idea for Disneyland came. I sat in that dugout, and I remember it vividly. I loved playing the game, but I was bored out of my mind watching the game. Even with the best seat in the house, sitting with the best players at a beautiful little ballpark, I was bored. And it was then that I said, well, what if, I went into the front office and said, what if we made the baseball even more fun? What if we did something that even not a baseball fan would want to come to? And that's where I started my career in then Gastonia, North Carolina.
All right. So for the uninitiated, and I actually had the pleasure of seeing some of this this league this summer, actually, on Cape Cod. Explain what the Cape Cod League is and where it fits sort of in the let's call it the classic hierarchy of baseball. We'll get to where it's going in a little while.
Yeah, well, the classic
hierarchy.
Yeah, you got Major League, then you got AAA, minor leagues, AA, then you got the High A and Rookie League, and obviously there were more leagues before Major League Baseball eliminated some leagues, and then you'd have top-level college baseball, the SEC, ACC, and then during the summer you have about 300-plus college summer league teams, and then the best league by far, from a talent standpoint, the most All-Stars, Hall of Famers, MVPs is the Cape Cod League, but they play in all around the Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Travel in school buses, play at high school fields, but it is stacked with top prospects. And so that's where I was coaching in the summer of 2007.
So from coaching then in that kind of environment, that's just a summer thing, right? It's a couple of months. It's not like a long, gigantic league, so to speak. Obviously, there's town affiliations and interactions and whatnot, but it's not like even a minor, a major minor league team, so to speak, that has its own branding and year-long marketing and all that kind of stuff, right? So the germ is there, the germination of that seed is there. How do you go from bench coach or sitting on the sidelines, so to speak, into, shall we say, ownership or give us a look into that journey? Like you just snap your fingers and all of a sudden own a team. And why, by the way, in the South versus, say, doing so up north?
Oh, yeah. I didn't own a team for 10, 11 years later after that. I became a general manager of a team in Gastonia, North Carolina at 23 years old. And I joke, the only way you get that job as a GM at 23 is it's one of the worst performing teams in the entire country. And literally, I showed up that first day. It was a Coastal Plain League team, so a similar college summer league team. And they had another team in Spartanburg. So I actually was interacting a little bit with them when I was at Wofford. And they offered me the job to become a GM at 23. And that first day I showed up, there was $268 in the bank account, and we had 3 full-time employees, and payroll was on Friday. The team had lost $100,000 the previous year. There was only 200 plus fans coming to the games. It was just, one of the lowest level and lowest performing teams in the country.
And the sound of the screeching tires in the distance as the person who gave you that job took off. I mean, okay, so how do you quote unquote luck into that? Were you seen as I don't know, were you a mark, if you will? It's like, who's going to take this job? And you just were just, you didn't know what you didn't know, or were you like eyes wide open and like, this is just opportunity to me and I don't really care. I want in and be able to get my hands dirty.
Yeah, I had some unique opportunities. Obviously, coaching in the Cape. Then I got some offered other opportunities, coaching in college. And but when I was at Wofford, I did a little bit kind of like an internship with their Spartanburg team. And they handed me a phone book and said sell sponsorship. And just in a few months when I was at Wofford, I was actually selling more sponsorship and more tickets than their GM and their director of sales combined. So I had this. I was very competitive, a baseball player, and so I was knocking on doors, calling everyone. So they saw this inkling, this guy can sell a little bit, let's give him an opportunity to be the GM. So then they offered me that position, and I was like, well, I have an opportunity of looking at a team that has failed, and maybe I could put my own stamp, maybe I could create, maybe I could have more reins to do things that people hadn't done before, because we were at the bottom. There was nothing to protect or nothing to lose. And luckily the owner of the team was just amazing. And still to this day, I'm so close with him. Ken Silver, he gave me the opportunity to start trying things. And I wasn't able to pay myself for the first 3 months. I think December was when I took my first paycheck because there was no revenue. And I just had to figure out a way how to get people excited about coming to a game in Gastonia, North Carolina.
All right, so explain to me the team, the name, and the Coastal Plain League, how similar, different from Cape Cod League. And again, it's collegiate players, summertime. What did you inherit, so to speak, besides the lack of funds, stadium condition, your sourcing of players, your coaching staff? What did you get, and what did you have to play with to start with?
What did I get? So we were playing at Sims Legion Park. It was an old, almost like a high school park. A Legion Park is obviously named for the Legion baseball, but the Gastonia Rangers played there for like a couple years in the late 80s. Muggsy Bogues actually came in from the basketball team in Del Curry. They played a game of minor league baseball. That's what they were known for, but no one was coming to the games. Little small market. And the team, the Gastonia Grizzlies and the Coastal Plain League, after the Rangers left, they joined the college summer baseball, and the Gastonia Grizzlies were there for 7 years at that point. Never won a championship, were usually in last place or second to last place in the league. And then, the attendance, the bottom of the attendance, 200, 300 fans max coming to the games. And, we had a salesperson that was on staff and another person who was an intern. The office was about 50 square feet. I mean, it was literally, you could fit one person in the entire office. So we had just three. I mean, we had three people all set around one desk. It was a challenging situation, but I didn't know any better. And so it's all perspective. I didn't know what minor league stadiums and all. I didn't know what it looked like to work on a front office. So that was where I started.
What was your diagnosis besides, oh my God, what are we going to do here? What did you managerially, what's sort of like your first inklings as to what to do that you can actually start affecting and doing versus just complaining and observing?
Well, I said, just what I learned when I was an intern for a little bit, just hit the ground running. So that first day, even I just grabbed a phone book and made 10 calls. And I remember today, hi, this is Jesse Cole. I'm the new general manager of the Gastonia Grizzlies. I'd love to come by and meet you and introduce myself as I'm trying to learn more about the community. Like, that was my pitch. And on those 10 first calls, 7 people said, nope, not interested. And I'm like, not interested in me even coming by and meeting you? Just not interested. Two said they'd never work with us, and 1 hung up on me. And so that was my first 10 calls. And I was like, wow, this is going to be much more challenging. I can't even my pitch just to say, come by and meet you. I'm not even trying to sell you. I just want to interact with stuff. So then I went to the chamber. I went to the JCs, the young professional group. I just joined everything I could in the community just so I could actually bump into people and meet people and interact with people, networking. And I said, I just have to get out there. And then the big aha for me came, I went to the VEC conference 1 month in. And so Mike Veck, So I started reading every book. I knew we were failing. So I read every book, P.T. Barnum, Walt Disney. I literally just would live at the library and started buying books with money I'd saved at college. I literally started getting every book I could. And I read Veck as in Rec about Bill Veck. And I was like, this is brilliant. I realized, oh, Mike Veck, his son has a team. This is interesting. Oh, he's holding a conference. So I convinced the owner of the team to let me go to this conference. And right after the first session, Mike was walking around, ran right up to Mike. 23 years old, starry-eyed guy. Mike, I took over this team. They're failing. They're struggling. There's no one coming to the games. What do I do? What do I do? And he looked at me and laughed. He goes, well, you got the personality. I think you got to become the face of the team, and you got to get a little crazy. And I was like, okay. And at that point, I was like, I'm going to get out everywhere. I'm going to try to. There was an article written, I think, the second or third month in that local Gastonia, and said, my goal was to talk to every single business person, nonprofit in this community by the end of the year. I'm going to find a way to do it. And that's what I said. So I was like, I'm going to get out there, meet the face of the team. And then the craziness is where we started to create the attention. And that's where I started having fun with, as you can see, some of the inspiration for what we're doing with the Bananas.
That's fascinating. Why was the initial response so talk to the hand or hang up or worse? What had the team done or not done, or the community? I mean, almost seems hostile, that sort of initial set of reactions.
Well, the team hadn't, they hadn't paid some people. They were struggling. The games were just very boring, very bad. It was just, there was no excitement. And so, but the reality is what I learned, and as I started getting more meetings, finally people started meeting with me, over and over again. We just don't like baseball. Our employees wouldn't like baseball. Oh, it's just too boring. We're not excited. And it was like, all right, they don't want to come to baseball. They don't like baseball. And we're never going to be the best baseball team in the world. We're a college summer baseball team. And so I was like, well, we can't be in the baseball business anymore. We have to be in the entertainment business. And, that's obviously common said by most minor league operators. But I was like, we can't just even be like a regular minor league team. So I remember I was meeting with one HR director. I was trying to convince her to get 200 of her employees to come out to a game. And she's like, no, I'm sorry. We're not going to go to a baseball game. Like, we'll have bounce houses here. We'll have a picnic. The kids can have fun. But a baseball game, we just don't want to come. And I was like, but we're not a baseball team. She goes, you are a baseball team. I go, no. I go, listen, it's so much different. She goes, what do you have in mind? Like, what do you do? I'm like, our players dance. And she was like, really? And at that point, I had no idea, even thinking about getting the players to dance. But I was like, I can just get her to think that we're not a baseball team. And she was like, really? I go, yeah, every night. It's a different choreographed dance. They literally put on a show. And she's like, oh, that's interesting. Well, we're still not interested in coming, but that's cool. And I was like, all right, well, I got to live up to this now. And so that's when I brought a dance instructor to the first practice and started teaching the guys how to dance, which obviously has led to, 15 plus years later, how much dance has become a part of what we do with the Bananas.
All right. So what year are we talking now?
This is 2007 when I took over, and 2008 was our first season in Gastonia, North Carolina.
And give me some examples. I mean, I think you're hinting at some of them, but so that first year, maybe you can kind of walk us through a couple of sort of like ahas, or this is gonna work, or I shouldn't do that, because I got to think the adrenaline's rushing and you're now throwing everything, caution to the wind. You're almost transforming your personality, so to speak, in terms of how you're selling and or representing, if you will, this team that, really isn't giving you much in terms of assets to begin with. Give our audience who may not have been following this initial story some examples of how you're ripping up the old and implanting some of the new.
Well, no one was following back then. I mean, we were nothing. And so I had the opportunity, the free reign to try everything. And fortunately, the owner gave me that opportunity. So as I just read over and over again, Walt Disney and then P.T. Barnum, without promotion, something terrible happens. Nothing. And I was like, attention. I kept saying attention beats marketing. Okay, what are we going to do? So the first thing we did was we fired our mascot for HGH use. So we literally fired our mascot, and because HGH was really big back then. So we made a big press release, fired him. We're looking for a new mascot, brought in a new mascot. Ironically, he was even stronger than the previous one, but which he was ripped. He had a six-pack.
There's no fact or truth to this. You made this up. Okay, it's just to clarify that this person was not illegally. Okay.
They completely fired our mascot. And then at the end, that was when former President Bush was, obviously his term was over. So then we offered a job to former President George Bush, and he was with the Rangers back in the day and used to be Gastonia Rangers. So we did this big release offering him a job. We were going to get a stipend, $1,500. He'd get him a host family. He'd have his own shower. And we did a whole release about offering former president. And so that was fun. And then on April 1st, we actually announced that he accepted the position. And we had people calling to get tickets. I was like, oh, no, this is not good. Like, he's not actually coming. It's April 1st. Fool's Day. But I was like, all right, we're on to something. Ironically, in June, I got a call from one of his staffers. Just want to let you know we received your letter and thank you so much. But he's writing his memoir right now. He's not going to be able to take the opportunity. And I try to keep her on the phone for like 5 minutes. I go, I need more reasons. Why not? But they actually called to deny the opportunity to work with us. But we announced a grandma beauty pageant. Part of one of the big things I learned from P.T. Barnum and Alan Fadden, who wrote the big book Innovation on Demand, was whatever's normal, do the exact opposite. So instead of a young beauty pageant, we had a grandma beauty pageant, which I worked with a nursing home. It was a disaster in so many ways. They showed up late. It was the slowest promotion I've ever had happen at a game, but they danced, and there's some really funny stories from there. But we started creating attention. People started coming to the game seeing what are they going to do next, and they had no idea. I mean, flatulence fun night, that was ridiculous. So we had a
sorry, wait. You got to explain that though.
So we said we're going to give away whoopee cushions at the gate. We're going to have a bean burrito eating contest, a kids make fart noise contest. It was very childish, but we got the whoopee cushions in, and unfortunately, I was like, oh, it's a pretty good deal. We didn't have much money, so I got like 500 whoopee cushions for like $368. I think that was the exact number. I can't remember. I remember that, and they showed up and they were like the size of like silver dollars. They were the tiniest whoopee cushions I've ever seen. So the goal was for 500 people to sit on them at the same time and create this lab. But it was like, it was like the worst. I mean, it failed in every way. Salute to Underwear Night, where we actually threw underwear into the crowd. And if you wore underwear over your pants, you got a free giveaway. But it was literally the most unfamily-friendly night we've ever done. What people were wearing, it was disgusting. That didn't work out really well. We had Pregnant Night. Let me see. That created some attention. If you were in your third trimester, you threw out the first pitch. You and your future kid. It was a 2-for-1. So you and your future kid got a free ticket if you showed up. We had a craving station. Dig to China night, where we actually buried a certificate for a trip to China. So we had, after the game, 500 people digging for this trip to China. When finally the woman won, she realized it was just a one-way flight to China, no flight back and no accommodations. So we were going to get her to China, but that was about it. So we eventually gave her a cruise and we made it better. But we were creating attention. So people were saying, well, what's going on? They're doing things I've never heard of. And so that's really the start of kind of the ideas that we started building into. Right. Obviously, now what we're doing with the bananas.
So much to unpack on that. But so, all right. So first of all, in Gastonia, South Carolina, not necessarily the most no offense, cosmopolitan sort of realm, right? So there's plenty of
no media, one newspaper, Gastonia, North Carolina. So it's 20 minutes from Charlotte. We're the redheaded stepchild of Charlotte. No one wants to come down. It's a very unique market, but a great test market for me. Which 10 years, you get to do things without, really no huge repercussions if they don't work.
So how are you ideating these ideas? Are these all coming out of your head as you're in the shower, so to speak, or are you surrounding yourself with a team. I mean, it almost sounds like you need a team of writers. It's like almost like a writer's room that you need to come up with these promotions and stuff. And how do you, with limited resources, I'm guessing, how do you actually get these things done? Because they're not all going to be, you got to spend some money to do some of these things like props and those kinds of things.
Minimal. So we learned how to be unbelievably scrappy. So yeah, now we have a whole creative team with Savannah, and we have writers, and we treat it like SNL. So every week we have actually, I can get to that later, but it's a Saturday Night Live type of schedule of how we create for every single game. But back then, no, I mean, I learned from Mike Veck, and he said, his father Bill said, if they're ever in a fire, the most valuable thing they have is their idea box. And so they actually had an idea box where they put ideas. So I started my idea box, inspired from Mike back in 2007, 2008. So I actually still have it. I mean, I was looking at it the other day. Some of them are just wild, and some of them a lot of them we've actually done. But so started that then, and then now I have an idea book. And so this was documented on the ESPN series they did on us. But every single morning I write down 10 ideas, and I've been doing it for now 6 years. So every morning, I don't miss a morning. I do 10 ideas every single morning. And so I've worked my idea muscle, and now our team does as well. So every day I'm almost having idea sessions I had 2 yesterday with different people on our team on specific ideas, because that's really the ethos of everything we do. So it started back then, I mean, just tons of ideas. And that's how we just kept trying more and more and more. And yeah, a lot didn't work. I mean, the hairiest contest, the hairy man contest. I mean, now you think of the living piñata promotion that we did, and that's a whole nother story. And we a lot don't work, but we test more ideas than I think anyone. Every night we do 10 to 15 things at our field that we've never done in front of a live crowd every single night.
All right, I'll bite. Give me one from the last couple of days.
Oh, geez. Well, so, I mean, we're now heavy on promos because we start our tour now in a couple weeks. So, I mean, literally we're working on senior citizen promos, toddler promotions, dad versus kids, food promos. So how to use animals. So animals, I mean, literally I'm working on how do we get a bull in the bullpen. So we literally ride a bull. The pitcher rides a bull in from the bullpen. How do we have a ball monkey? So we're working on actually a monkey that can deliver baseballs to the umpire, hitter coming up with a boa constrictor around their neck. I mean, that's just the animal themes that we're thinking about. Actually having a cow graze in the outfield in the middle of the game while they're playing a game. So like that's just the animals that we just did the other day. So when you start getting a theme, then you can really dive deep into it. And then we start saying, how do we execute these ideas?
Okay. The reaction from the town, the city, the region, good, bad, indifferent?
No, it was good. It was good. Yeah, it was good. I mean, we just went from 200 fans a game to almost 1,000 fans a game the first year, then to 1,200, then to 1,500, then to 2,000. By 2013, we were fourth in the entire country in attendance. So we were creating a lot of buzz. We were starting to sell out some games. So I mean, we were creating excitement, but in Gastonia with no media, no one else knew about it. It was just kind of this little small thing in this town that was, the town really started to appreciate.
How was the baseball product during this time?
Yeah, so we, at first I realized, man, I was terrible. So I thought I had to get a really good baseball team. So I did all the recruiting in the beginning, and it just did not work. That was not a good fit for me. And I thought I had all these guys, and, I had Russell Wilson play for us, obviously the quarterback in the NFL, and, a great kid, amazing, batted 205 for us. But, it's like, I recruited all these like big names that I thought, and just there was so much more to it until I finally let that go in 2010, 2009. I really stopped doing all the recruiting and just said, hey, I'm going to focus on making it the most fun, the best environment for the players, let the coaches do their things. Then we started winning some championships. So we won a couple of championships after that.
How do the players take to the wackiness of the promotions and stuff? I mean, obviously this is a college league. They're probably not sort of jaded and or, worried about the big bucks per se, but clearly they're still trying to evidence themselves to scouts and all that kind of stuff because they want to at least get a shot at the next level. Do they like this attention? Do they worry about it being a distraction, et cetera?
Not at first. And that's the same thing with the Bananas. I mean, literally when we started, the first practice before, as a GM, I said, guys, before we take BP, before we hit, we're going to learn how to dance. And I had a dance instructor from Perfect Step Dance Studio, literally with the players, teaching them simple jump on it. And I had some guys just say, I'm not doing it, and went to the bullpen. Well, I'm here to play ball. I'm not here to dance. And only a few guys were willing to do it. But the first time those guys danced, the crowd cheered. The second time, those guys signed more autographs. The third game, literally, they become legends, and people are stopping what they're doing to watch these guys dance. And all of a sudden, as the other players saw that they were becoming the most popular players, the dancers, the other guys started coming in and being a part of it.
So, okay. And so tell me the rest of the league and how they're looking at you, right? Because I'm assuming that the CPL was kind of as, shall we say, sleepy and sort of traditional and laid back, so to speak, that as the Cape Cod League from which you came earlier.
Yeah, and I have a lot of appreciation for especially the people in the league that allowed us to do all these crazy things. But yeah, we weren't loved by the other teams. Let's put it that way. They looked at us like we were making a joke of the game. We were making a mockery of the game, and that was something that we've kind of seen since the beginning. There were certain owners who were just really against what we were doing. And so that was it. But I realized very early to focus on who are you for, but who are you not for? And I realized that, we're not for the baseball traditionalists. We're not for those people that really want it to be a structured, serious way. Our goal since day one is we make baseball fun. We've had it on our website since day one. And so I started really focusing on those people that were trying to bring fun to it and not the people that were against what we were doing.
Clearly, the economics are on your side because you're drawing more people, you're drawing more attention. I got to think that just then business is good. So that can't hurt in terms of the resources for the team, the product of baseball and stuff. But you're also, though, all of this is not, you're not, if you will, injuring or getting in the way of the actual baseball product per se, right? I mean, clearly the players and the organizations that's setting up the table, so to speak. I mean, the arena and the tent, if you will, of the circus inside. I mean, you're still playing the game of baseball at this point, right? And that can't be a bad thing, given that there was no money and nothing going on prior to your arrival.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that didn't really altering and changing the game didn't happen until Savannah. But yeah, at that point in Gastonia, it was a real game. There was we utilized every single half inning to deliver a show. We took our players into the crowd to deliver roses to little girls in the middle of the game. We started breaking down the barriers because what I started seeing is I was looking at everything that regular baseball was doing and all those friction points and all the frustration points and said, what are the things that are the challenges in baseball and the relationship they have with fans, and how do we do the exact opposite? So we started breaking down the barriers there, but from between the lines, it wasn't until Savannah and now Banana Ball that we really started changing the actual game.
All right, so tell me, you're having success. You win a championship or two, I think, in the process. You've kind of climbed the mountain, right? So give me a sense of what you're thinking could be next for you and or the team, and maybe a little bit of a quickie story on the event that kind of changed your course from there, right? Which is in minute 2 of the video that's on your website, right?
Yeah, I started having this vision. So I met Emily and my wife, and it was funny. I was hosting. This is how we hosted a conference our first year or second year in Gastonia, and it was funny. I was like, I've only been doing it a year, but we hosted a conference inviting other teams. But I was really just doing it to try to get other teams to come to learn from them. But I'm like, we're hosting a conference. We're going to share some of the craziness and the fun. We're bringing everyone else. And so I hosted a conference, and we got some minor leagues to come. And I was talking about our grandma beauty pageants and how we got senior citizens to be a part of it and sharing all this. And a woman in the industry, Amy Venuto, left. She was at the conference. She left the conference, walked out, and called Emily McDonald at the time, Emily worked for her with the Augusta Green Jackets, and said, I just met the guy you're going to marry. And Emily's like, what? She goes, he's got the same energy, the same enthusiasm. He loves what he's doing. You guys are going to get married. And Emily's like, all right, Amy, cool down. She was 23 years old at the point or whatever. And Amy's like, just get in touch with Jesse. Talk to him about these things they're doing. And so we just started connecting and talking, and we re-met at a minor league conference, and we were like, we got to do this together. And so she joined our team, Emily, and became our director of fun, I think in 2011, 2012. And we just started saying, we couldn't stop talking about it. And we were thinking, all right, can we develop an empire and have a bunch of different teams and just bring this all over the country? And we actually tried that for a little bit. We ran a team in Martinsville, Virginia, and we helped out with a team in Forest City that the owner had. And what we realized is when we spread ourselves too thin, we weren't able to deliver the same type of show, same type of experience. And so that, quickly kind of started fading away from us. But there was a point where we got really, really close, and, we started dating, and I proposed to her in front of a sold out crowd in the yellow tuxedo that I wear all the time. And she said yes, which, thank goodness, that would have been really awkward and uncomfortable. But we had a 30-minute fireworks show in the middle of the game. So the umpires and the players are just watching this. I'm like, this is our moment. We're taking, and cared about the fans. And she said yes. And then, lo and behold, later that night, she planned a trip to go to Savannah, Georgia. She knew I never been there. And she said, you just got this ring to this epic proposal. The season's over now in 2014. Let's go to Savannah. And so she took me to Savannah. We fell in love with the city, and we found out they had a minor league baseball game, and we're always ballpark junkies, so we got to go see the field. And we walked into Grayson Stadium, and the New York Mets affiliate was playing, and we walk in, see the brick columns, and you could feel the history of the ballpark, and I just fell in love. And I walked up the stairs, and I looked out. The game was about to start, and there was less than 200 people in the stadium, and it was an 80-degree night, perfect, not a cloud in the sky, and it was one of the deadest environments I've ever seen in sports. And at that point, I said, if this team ever leaves, we have to come here. And lo and behold, they wanted a $38 million stadium from the city. The city said no, and we convinced the city to give us a shot.
And keep the old stadium. So what are the Mets the evil one in that story for them, for that blowing up?
I will never say anyone's an evil one. I will say it was a lot of people would say the Mets were maybe asking for something, or the owner of the team was asking for something that, really wasn't warranted, that they weren't drawing that many fans even at this regular stadium. And, there wasn't that support to build it. So then they left, and fortunately, it was the best thing that ever happened to us from a professional standpoint.
All right. So what year is this, and how does this happen? Because if there's all discussion about the stadium and all that stuff, because frankly, you're describing almost two themes that are almost counterintuitive, given, and we'll get to this sort of near the end of the conversation, around where the business of baseball is going, right? One is, by saying that you don't want to necessarily own a bunch of different teams and kind of manage them sort of as a portfolio, that almost sounds counter to where private equity entities and the boom in sports that's going right now, it's all about growth and stuff, right? You think actually, it seems like more and more people are trying to do that model. Number two, the stadium fleece. I mean, I've become very cynical in my readings about sort of how cities get shaken down, right? Especially taxpayer money and all that kind of stuff for stadiums, and the questionable sometimes economics, or the benefit that's supposed to come to the communities when these new stadiums are built and stuff. And more often than not, they tend to be more, financial overhangs that don't do the things that are originally promised. So I guess the thought there is that, are you looked as you move into Savannah, are you looked as a savior of this old stadium, or is it inevitable that a stadium conversation would come around again? Or are you just like, I love this market, I can make this old ballpark work, and I just let me at it, and then we'll talk about the rest of it later someday?
Yeah, it's all perspective. I mean, for us, it was compared to the ballpark we were playing in Gastonia, this looked like a cathedral. I mean, this looked like a major league stadium. It's like, wait, there's a merchandise store? Wait, they have like real locker rooms and showers? Like, we were just, I mean, the kids that were like blown away. There's storage space. And now in retrospect, there's very little of that compared to what we need based on the demand. But it was all perspective. And yeah, to say, obviously in the business side, everything we do is counterintuitive. So, to think of everyone's looking at growing this way, we're the opposite. I mean, literally, I'm at the ballpark right now and looking out at a field. We're the only stadium in the world that has zero advertising. Like, we eliminated that, and we only have one ticket, and we don't have digital scoreboards or suites. So everything we do is counterintuitive, and that's how we build fans. But the reality is, at that point, it was, this ballpark is special. We love it. Can we save baseball here? We're not thinking about a new stadium. We're thinking about saving Grayson Stadium, except in the local community, it was looked like as a failure. They had professional baseball for 90 years. Now they're going to a college summer team, unproven. No one knows who us. Basically, what Savannah thought is they lost baseball. Even though they got us, they lost baseball. And that's where, the real struggles happened. We showed up that first day, myself, my wife, Jared, our 24-year-old team president, and 3 22-year-olds straight out of college. And The former team had cut the phone lines. They cut the internet lines. I mean, they took everything out of the stadium. There was no furniture, nothing left. So we grabbed a picnic table and used our cell phones and started calling people in the community. And the community was not excited for us. I mean, literally, it was bad. We only sold a handful of tickets in our first few months, and by just 6 months later, I got the phone call that we overdrafted our account and we were completely out of money, and we had nothing left. And my wife and I had to sell our house and empty out our savings account, and we were sleeping on an airbed. And so that was just 7 years ago. It's crazy to think.
So that's very interesting, because I mean that really is perspective, because I mean, if you just look at the chart of the teams, plural, that had been in Savannah, it almost seems like it is sort of a slow but sure release of air from the baseball balloon, if you will. I mean, this is a stadium filled with teams, going back to when was the stadium built? Like 1927? Yep. I think it was like a pre or a works progress administration kind of construct. So that's a very interesting dynamic, because it probably seems to the long-standing citizenry there that you're now only a 2 or 3 month kind of collegiate league, and it's not even sort of a regular minor league kind of thing. So it sounds to me like most people have pretty much already given up on whatever baseball was or could be by the time you arrived. That's got to be even worse of a start than what you had in Gastonia.
Oh, it was brutal. I mean, literally, there were rumors going on. We were meeting with restaurants, and it's like, yeah, we heard you're not serving alcohol at all at your games. I'm like, no, we will have alcohol. We'll have beer. And they're like, no, we heard you're not. And I'm like, they wouldn't even believe us when we said, they're like, your college summer, you can't. I'm like, no, there's going to be drinks. There's going to be fun. It's going to, it was just constant trying, to beg. We would drive an hour to try to sell 10 tickets to meet with someone. It was so many people that would join. We're hiring a full-time person every single week. Our staff is bigger than we ever imagined. It's crazy what's happened, but none of them know what it was like. I had dinner with one of our interns who was with us our first year, and he's like, no one knows what it's like starting the fire. He goes, I used to be our mascot literally almost every day and just go to job fairs or go to anything just to try to get people excited. And it was really bad. And when me and Emily were sleeping on the airbed, and we only had $30 a week to grocery shop. That's all we had. Every dollar we had was in the team, and it was really challenging. And I had to then really channel the Walt Disney and P.T. Barnum and say, what would these guys do? Because we had to do something big if we wanted to, keep the team going.
All right, two things. And by the way, for our audience, the Savannah Indians, the Savannah Braves of the Atlanta system, the Cardinals and the former Sand Gnats, which I think were the team prior to you arriving, which were part of the Mets organization. Savannah has been part of baseball since literally before, during the Depression, right? So it's really saying something that not only is the stadium still. So a couple of questions. Number one, status of the stadium. How much upgrading, so to speak, or at least bringing things to par did you need to do, and where are you getting at least the shekels to even get that done, like the internet connections and that kind of stuff?
Oh, geez, we didn't have anything. It was.
Did you have to do rework to the seats? Was it like?
The stadium was used the previous year, so it was used in minor league baseball in 2015. So the seats they were all good. We didn't have any equipment, so the city helped us a little bit. There was a few grills that were left over. We were working with nothing. And so that's when it was just like, hey, we got to come up with a model or create something to create excitement to get people to want to come to these games.
Okay, and then upon the arrival, all right, so before we get to the naming thing, at what point do you and your wife start to question the decision? Or was it, or you just both so wired similarly that you just didn't know or care?
The boats were burned. I remember vividly. People always ask me, bring back to those moments, and we didn't sleep much. We were on an airbed, which is not good sleeping, and there were many nights where we'd only sleep a couple hours, and literally 2 or 3 in the morning, we just get up and just start walking, and just go out and just walk. And often we didn't even talk. We would just walk, and we would be thinking, and we had no other options. And it wasn't just me, myself, and Emily. It was Jared, our 24-year-old team president, who left a minor league team to join us. And 3 22-year-olds that right out of college, they convinced their parents to let them take a chance on this new team. And then everyone else we were looking to hire, we had a huge responsibility. And yes, we had also a huge amount of debt. We were 7 figures in debt. So there were no questions of like, hey, well, what are we going to do? It was just like, we got to find a way, got to find a way, got to find a way. And that's where I went really deep in reading and researching and thinking about anyone who would create attention, got people excited. And that's kind of, we just had to come up with a plan.
All right. So I'm guessing one of the first things, if not the first thing, was the idea of the name. Do you want to tell us about that and why and how that comes about?
But it was actually the name. People don't realize before that we named the company Fans First Entertainment. And when we named it, it was a much bigger thing than just naming a company. I mean, you have so many different owners of teams. They're called so-and-so, so-and-so. And the name was so intentional. And everything we do is unbelievably intentional. So we named it, if we're naming our Fans First Entertainment, we realize that every decision we have to make is fans first. We have to literally think our mission is fans first, entertain always with everything we do. And so one of the big things before we even announced the name, we said, one thing I really hate about going to a sporting event is how you get nickel and dimed. You literally come and pay your ticket fees, your convenience fees, your service fees, your taxes, your parking fees, $7 for this, $6 for this, $8 for a burger, $9. And I said, guys, before we even came, I said, we're going to develop a model where it's an all-inclusive ticket, no ticket fees, no service fees, no convenient fees. We pay your taxes, all your burgers, hot dogs, chicken sandwiches, soda, water, popcorn, dessert, everything is included for $15 total. And we all looked at each other like everyone was like, you can't do that. I'm like, why can't we? We got to get people excited and do something different. And they're like, but no one's doing that. Like some people have like an all you can eat for a couple hours and they do it for a certain group section, but the whole ballpark, I go, yes, the whole ballpark. And so we made that decision beforehand. And so we started making decisions on how we're going to create a fans first experience. But that didn't get everyone excited. They were still like, oh, we don't even know your team name. So then we had to come up with the team name. And that was, we asked the city, everyone in the city, we did a big launch event. And I say big launch event because we actually literally went door to door with invitations. Our little staff literally went all around the town. We called everyone, invitations, free food, free alcohol, free drinks. Come out and we're just going to announce what's going on with the team. Thousands of invitations went out. We had about 180, 80 to 90, 100 max people that showed up. They had us set up at the giant conference center. And it was this room that was just completely empty. We're talking, it's embarrassing. We show a video of some of the things we've done in Gastonia. The fun. We said, we want a name for this team and we want you to help, but we don't want a generic name. We don't want to be something like a regular animal, a regular thing. We want to be something completely different and outrageous. And they put it out in the newspaper, and all of a sudden we started getting completely normal and generic names. The Ports, the Anchors, the Sailors, the Spirits, hundreds of those. Until one, we saw the Bananas. And it was a 62-year retired nurse, Lynn Moses, and she sent Bananas. And we just started going to town on thinking of all the crazy things we could do with it. And, we could have a senior citizen dance team called the Banana Nanas. We could have a male cheerleading team called the Mananas. We could have a mascot named Split, Go Bananas. We could do a music video to Can't Stop the Peeling. We could throw bananas in people's pants and call it Banana in the Pants. We could do banana-themed drinks, banana-themed food. We just started thinking of all the options. We could build a brand that's not just naming a team thing and having a logo. We could build a brand that extends. And so we decided we were going to do it, but we knew we were going to get criticized. So Emily and I actually spent 2 days with our staff, coaching our staff how to handle the criticism. And it was very funny because we were acting like angry fans, which, as lo and behold, when we announced the name, that's exactly what happened.
That's ingenious and frankly, from a business perspective, very ingenious and smart, right? To anticipate the negativity of that, right? But because Savannah's I explain the Savannah market to people who don't know or have never been there, because it's a beautiful place, but it's also kind of quaint and got a history and charm to it, and it's not something as I don't want to say garish, but as jolting as a name change like this is probably. It's just going to be a no just from hearing it versus understanding the story behind it.
So Savannah's a very proud city. It's very historic. A ton of charm and beauty. And, you look at places, landmarks that have been here for a long time, but it's also unique and it's also different. And it is a little quirky, but when you look at, all the names have been really kind of generic and stayed true to, what the city is. And so, yeah, you're right. We knew it was going to be jarring because there's everyone's like, what does Savannah have to do with bananas? Is it just because it rhymes? And I'm like, well, it's bigger than that. But yes, there's nothing that bananas, it's not like we're importing bananas in Savannah, but yeah, 15 million tourists come here a year. It's a very beautiful area that's loved, but the bananas is almost, to what many people would say, making a mockery of the city.
And how did you internally and then externally deal with the negativity?
Well, so we got ready February 25th, 2016, and we were getting ready to launch the name, and we had a big event. I always say big event. 200 people show up, but we were ready for a big event. And the first shipment of T-shirts came in the week before, and there were actually too many N's in bananas. We misspelled bananas on the first shipment of T-shirts that came to us. So people don't even know the amount of disasters we have. Hats never got there in time. And so literally an hour before we announced, we're like, we can't sell hats. And I was like, well, just put pictures of the mock-ups of the hats on the website. And our team's like, but you can't get on and say shipping in May. And I was like, just put it on there to say we're going to have hats. We just don't have them now. It was a disaster. But when we announced the name, we actually brought in ringers. So people don't realize. So we brought in our spouses, significant others, our friends, and we told them, when we announced the name and we showed the video, just start cheering. And they were like, really? I'm like, listen, my biggest fear is not necessarily people booing. It's just dead silence. I don't want silence. And so we brought in maybe like 15, 20 of our friends and family members. And as soon as the name came out, you heard them cheer. But then the rest of the people you heard booing. And it was just the most interesting moment. But what happened within 25, 30 minutes, it was #1 trending on Twitter. There was a Republican debate that night. It was a lot of things going on. The Savannah Bananas were #1 trending on Twitter. SportsCenter called it the logo of the year. Nationally, people were like, this is so fun. But locally, like, you just made a joke out of our city. A year later, we actually released a mean tweet video of all the negative comments. The owner should be thrown out of town. You're an embarrassment to this city. Whoever came up with this name should be fired. It was bad. The next day we're walking through town and we're getting booed because we're wearing banana shirts. So the question was, how do we deal with it? I didn't sleep at all, but Emily's like, Jesse, this is what you always say. Like, we need to do this. We need to get attention. We need people to at least know we're here. Now people at least know we have a team. That's the first step. And I believe it now more than anything. If you want the hearts of your customers or your fans, you have to first get the eyes and the ears. And many teams struggle with getting the eyes and the ears. And that's what, at that point, as tough as it was, we were able to do that.
But you were quick out of the gate, though, both on and off the field, of not only the attention that you were getting, right? But I got to think that you converted a lot of people pretty quickly, given how quickly successful you were, winning a league championship that first year. You were named, Organization of the Year by various sources and stuff. The generation of all this attention nationwide, which is probably a little bit more forgiving and or curious than, say, the current residents and stuff. When did you kind of feel like, you know what, I think we're truly, besides your wife encouraging you, which is enormously important, right? Because other mere mortals might just shrink in the background in the face of all that stuff. Aside from your intestinal fortitude, when did you kind of know that, we are onto something here, and the negativity is really more the minority than anything else?
Opening night. And so actually, here's a little aside too. So when we announced the team name, now again, Savannah had never sold out games. They never had really more than 1,000 fans. So when we announced the team name, we also announced, and we just want to let you know, also, we have one game that's already completely sold out. There are no tickets. And people were like, what? And I was like, sorry, the game's already sold out. And people didn't know, like, they didn't believe us. They were like, they're only completely sold out. So this game you can't go to anymore, but there's a few other games. And we announced that. And people didn't realize we convinced the hospital to buy 3,000 plus tickets for one game. So, and they bought them. They paid a full price. And so we sold out one game. That was part of creating demand, saying that, hey, we have a team name that maybe people don't like, but people actually want to come to these games, even though it's the hospital buying it out. So we announced that. And then people started saying, oh, wow. So finally, like, we sold out opening night. And I think people were just like, what are they going to do? Is it going to fail? What is this team? I just got to be there. And so opening night was when I knew, because now, first of all, we were wearing green uniforms because we weren't quite ripe. So we true story. Every opening night we actually wear green uniforms to start the year. But so and we had yellow bases, and we had a banana baby. We literally put a 6-month-old in a baby costume and lifted the baby up at home plate and sang "Na Savannah." And we thought, I mean, again, it goes back to the idea time and working my idea muscle in Gastonia. So we started putting a ton of ideas in play. So, but unfortunately, it started raining like right before, and I was like, this is an omen. It's pouring Savannah rain. People literally flood into the stadium because we didn't know we never worked a game. So they came to the stadium. We weren't ready. We're doing all you can eat. Everyone's trying to eat at the same point. We didn't realize we're going to go through 10,000 pieces of meat. People are waiting 2 hours plus to eat. It was a terrible experience in that sense. But the middle of the rain delay, I go to the Bananas. I go, guys, can you make your debut? And they go, well, Jesse, it's raining. I go, even better. If you go out in the rain and dance, people are going to lose their minds. And they go, let's do it. And they went out and did a line dance, and the tarp's on the field and they're on the grass. And I looked and saw people just go nuts, and everyone had their camera up, and I'm like, okay, we're on to something. And then the rain delay continues, and I say, players, guys, can you go in the crowd and deliver roses to all the little girls? We had like a couple dozen roses. I was like, all right, let's put on the show while it's raining. And people are like having fun in the rain delay, and no one's leaving. The game didn't start till about 8:30. And I don't know if 100 fans had left the game. And we played all the way through the night. We took all the players outside the gate, all the cast, everyone thanked the fans. And at that point, I was like, we're on to something. And then they started telling everyone, and we started just selling out game after game after game, because people said they're doing something we've never seen before at a baseball game.
And you were competitive as well. Only
adds to the story that we focus on fun first, and what we realize is when you have fun, you perform better. So yes, we had a lot of guys that ended up getting drafted, top round picks. We had a really good squad, and we had to teach those guys, because the media was asking, how do you feel like playing for a team named after a fruit? And we had to actually coach those guys up on how to be positive about the name and stuff. So yeah, they started playing well, and it was a magical season to sell out of the games, to win a championship. And at that point, we knew we were onto something.
All right. So you're still in the Coastal Plain League, though, right? So this is only a 2-month, 3-month kind of endeavor per year. Is that right? Okay. So number one, continuing on from your success earlier, how is this team looked upon in the rest of the league? Are they enjoying this another extra level of attention, or are they not, because you're such an outlier, so to speak?
Yeah, it wasn't that bad that year. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't until like the next year where we introduced the breakdancing base coach that I started to get more criticism from the league. Because what I realized, and fans first, entertain always, I go, still, we're really good in between innings. We're really good before the game. But during the game, we're not. We can get better. And so I had this idea, this dream, maybe inspired by Max Patkin back in the day. But I said, could we get an actual breakdancing base coach that does the moonwalk, the single ladies, does the Carlton, is dancing while giving signs, coaching first? And it took a year of doing auditions and finally finding a guy who had no clue, didn't know baseball at all. I had to teach him when to go out. He actually ran out in the wrong inning once. He ran out when we weren't even up. But we had him go out that first night. And again, a jaw-dropping moment. Everyone had cameras. SportsCenter put it on the top 10. It was big. And then the owner started to say even more, you're distracting our players from the game. You're starting to disrupt the baseball. And that's where we started getting a lot more pushback.
Well, I mean, it's not like you're bringing Eddie Goodell to the game, right? And you're having a 3'5", I don't know how tall he was, during the game and stuff. I mean, that's not injurious to the game. It's not like Minnie Minoso, in his 60s coming in for an at-bat. I mean, that arguably is futzing with the game a bit, right? I mean,
that's like obviously right now when we have a batter on stilts come up and we have batters do splits in the batter's box and guys come up to the bat, it's on fire. All those things that we do now, yes, but that's banana ball. But back then, you're right. It was a breakdancing coach who was dancing pretty hard in his innings that he was coaching.
All right, so this is a 6 or 7 year journey in the Coastal Plain League. So past summer, right, was your last year in the league. So give our audience a sense of where your heads are at in terms of making this pretty significant decision to leave this league, frankly, the league that you've known for a decade plus, and reinventing this team as, dare I say it, the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball this coming season for the first time?
Yeah, and that's a conversation we can go into, because I've done extensive research on the Globetrotters, so I could take that a few different ways. But and I will. But everything we do is, again, it sounds like a broken record, but I just had 2-hour orientation with all of our guys as we get ready for our world tour, and that's all we talk about. We share fans first stories. We share why we do what we do and who we are, and all the decisions that we make. And so, when you're looking at the actual game and what was happening, we were starting to sell out every single game in Savannah. We were starting to develop like a wait list, but fans were still leaving games early. And there were still points in a game, an inning would drag. There'd be too many walks. There were all these things that were boring. And how we start, the starting point for innovation is we start with fans first, but then we say, what are those friction points and what are those frustration points in the experience of a fan? And, that's why, we have no sponsors at our stadium. That's why we have one ticket. It's all inclusive here in Savannah. That's why we have no ticket fees. Every decision is that way. So I said, the game, there's still a challenge with the game. And I just kept saying, it's still too long. It's still too slow. And we actually started taking pictures and video of our grandstand every 30 minutes, 5:36, 6:37, 7:38, just to see when people would get up, when they'd leave, and then when they would leave for good. And we realized we don't believe in surveys. Surveys is a small percentage of people. Henry Ford didn't survey people to see if they wanted cars. The reality is we were just watching our fans. And we realized by 9 o'clock, you'd have about 10, 20, 25% leave. By 9:30, it could be up to 40% especially on a weeknight. And by 10 o'clock, you had a very small percentage of people that were at the game. And so I said, we got to make a change. And so everything we do is a small bet. So I said, I'm going to work on just rules of looking at a new game that looks at every boring part of baseball, every friction point, and do the exact opposite. Look at every way that the game is boring. So I remember watching it was a Dodgers game, and I don't watch baseball anymore as a baseball guy, which is interesting. And I was watching a Dodgers game, and Yasiel Puig was playing, and I actually had a timer going of what the time was in between pitches. And he'd go out, and it was a long at bat. It was a 3-2 count. He ended up popping out. And I remember watching the at bat, and it was anywhere between 28 and 37 seconds in between every pitch. And I was like, oh my goodness. I go, why doesn't he just stand in the batter's box? And it was like, he's taking so much time. I was like, that's ridiculous. Then I watched walks. I was like, that's boring. And I started just thinking about all these opportunities, and we started writing down ideas, sharing them with the team. And so we said, hey, let's just test this game. And we didn't have a name for it. It wasn't banana ball like it was now. It's just kind of like, is it speed ball? Is it show ball? Is it fastball? Let's test it out. And we wrote down, these 9 rules, and we went to a college. First, we were going to play at Wofford College, because obviously I went there, and the coach was like, all right, we'll give this a shot in our fall ball. Ironically, it rained out. So the first ever goal to play banana ball, it got rained out. And so then I went to Lander University, and because our former coach at Wofford was now coaching there, and we played it, and we played 9 innings in 99 minutes. And I talked to the guys, and they said it was the most fun they've ever had playing baseball. And I was like, that's a good first test. And so that's when we started building it. And so how do we leave the Coastal Plain League? We tested that again in exhibition games. Then we had a pro team going on, and we tested a 1-city world tour in Mobile, Alabama, which, again, ridiculous, but we got cities kind of bidding to see where we would go. Sold 7,000 tickets. 98% of the fans stayed till the end of the game. Then we did a 7-city tour this past year and sold out Major League Spring Training homes, sold out everything. Fans loved it. And then we were still playing in the Coastal Plain League, and we ended up selling out all these other ballparks in the Coastal Plain League. But we had to play regular baseball, and we couldn't bring the show, and we got thousands of messages, people calling us scam artists. And it's like, because you're not doing banana ball, you're not doing this. We bought tickets and traveled 10 hours to go to Wilson or Wilmington, North Carolina, and you didn't do this. We had so many fans that were upset with us for playing traditional baseball and not bringing banana ball that we said it's the most fans first decision we can make is to go all in on banana ball. And we made that decision and upset a lot of people, frustrated a lot of people, but we know it's the best thing for us in the future.
So how do you, okay, so it is a bold move, right? And obviously you've got collegiate players as your sort of source of talent. Yes. So this is also a break maybe for them to make a decision whether they want to join the traveling show, so to speak, or retreat maybe to another team in the league or go up to the Cape Cod League and stuff because they want to go for the actual pro dream still. But I guess the question is, Okay, so you make that decision that you're getting more attraction, I guess, to this new brand that you're creating. But that's quite a different. I mean, why not continue to play the league stuff and just fan out the exhibition stuff, right? It seems like that could be a more viable model than throwing more dice out there and saying, screw it, we're just going to go on a tour and not even play a regular season. Because that's a bold move, and that requires different sensibilities, both of your staff, the players, your commitment, and frankly, the product that you're selling, which is, some would argue, not baseball, so to speak.
It's not. It's banana ball, and we're proud of that. A 2-hour time game where batters can't step out of the batter's box. There's no bunting. Batters can steal first. If a fan catches a foul ball, it's an out. And there's showdowns to determine the end of the game, pitcher versus hitter. It's our first game on ESPN this past year. Our pitcher struck out the leadoff guy in 10.2 seconds. Major League just put in a 15-second pitch clock. We're striking guys out in 10 seconds. It's a completely different game, and we're proud of that. So, yeah, why would we not keep the league? Again, it goes to fans first. And I think one thing, and I say this, I'm not trying to – people see moves in a vacuum. They don't see necessarily – I watched the Queen's Gambit, and it was I love that show because she's constantly seeing the whole chessboard. I'm not focused on the next quarter or the next tour. I'm focused on the next quarter century. I'm focused on what we're going to be doing in 2050. And it's just, when you think about that, we're not the Globetrotters. We got a completely different plan than the Globetrotters. And what I'm watching with the game, we had our practice yesterday, and these guys are throwing 90+ miles an hour. They're hitting balls over the fence. I mean, they're unbelievably talented pro guys. And they also did 14 tricks. Our right fielder caught 3 line drives barehanded. Our center fielder did 2 backflip catches in the middle of a game. Our shortstop's catching the ball through his legs and throwing it through his legs to get outs. And these are all real-time plays that literally could happen in a major league game. And I'm watching this. I'm like, this banana ball is something truly special. And I believe we're in a TikTok world. We're getting entertained at our fingertips every 7 seconds. We're creating a game where every at-bat, something can happen with the hitter, the pitcher, the fielder that you've never seen before in a baseball field. And that excites me more than anything. All
right. So explain to me what you're in the middle of now and preparing for. What's coming up this upcoming quote unquote season, and how are you convincing the players and the coaches and all that stuff to sign on? Where are players? Are you getting more interest from the player base, or are they self-selecting, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, at first we didn't. Again, no one wanted to play for us. So I say this like humbly, like it was no one wanted to play for us. But then when they saw us, like, Jake Peavy joined us last year, and Josh Reddick, and Jonathan Papelbon, and Johnny Gomes, and Johnny Bench. And I'm getting reached out to almost every week from major leaguers that just see the fun and they want to have. And so when you're part of these, we have first rounders that are playing on our team now. We've got guys that have been playing pro ball for 5-10 years. And so we've attracted, but yeah, we look for a talented ball player that's also entertaining. We ask, what are your talents? Can you dance? Can you juggle? Can you sing? I mean, our second baseman
personality too, I'm assuming too, right? As
what's that?
Ambassadors, personality.
Oh, I'm sorry, what's that?
You're looking for people with personality too, right?
Yeah. I mean, right? 100%. I mean, one of our players has over 1 million followers, Jackson Olsen. I mean, these guys are getting huge followings. Again, we're trying to connect with fans. Everything we do is fans first. And so what I think there's a big challenge with, it's hard for fans to connect with a Mike Trout. You just don't know them. And so we're really showcasing who these people are. Our main pitcher pitches in a cowboy hat. And so this past Halloween, we had hundreds of kids. Parents sent us pictures of their kids being our players, and even some dressing up in a crazy yellow tuxedo like me. I don't know where you can get a kid's yellow tuxedo, but because they're able to connect and they see the fun. And now that we're fortunate, we have over 4 million followers on TikTok, which is 3 million more than any Major League Baseball team. And to see what's happening, I think we've really struck a chord with trying to deliver that fun that people really haven't been able to see in the game as recently.
All right, so tell me about this world tour. It starts literally as we're recording this in about 10 days' time. How much is in Savannah? How much is on the road? And, I mean, quote unquote, how's it going so far in terms of the prep and the sales and the attention and stuff? I assume you're off to a pretty darn good start given how many sold out things you have here on the website on the schedule.
Yeah, we're very fortunate. Again, from sleeping on an airbed 7 years ago to where we are now. So we have 90 plus games. We're playing in 33 cities. We've had to add 20 dates. And this is a real number. And our wait list just passed over 500,000 for tickets, and we're growing 1,000 to 2,000 on the wait list. So every market is everything's sold out. We have saved a couple hundred tickets to give that wait list a chance, but everything is beyond sold out. We're at a serious challenge. Our wait list is going to be over 1 million people in the next 3 to 5 months, and that's why we're fortunate. Major league stadiums have been reaching out for 2024 to play in front of 40,000 and the biggest venues. So a lot of these smaller venues, we're going to AAA stadiums and spring training homes. We're playing in front of stadiums 10, 12, 14,000, but those are all sold out. There's just not enough inventory, and we're adding different nights. So we're very fortunate, and we're playing 22 different challenger games. We're playing the Major League alumni, Kansas City Monarchs. We're playing the Staten Island Ferry Hawks, the Trenton Thunder. We're playing other independent teams. So that's why it's really not like the Globetrotters. Yes, we have the party animals, but we're really trying to prove that the game of banana ball is legit, and you can play it against other teams. And we did that last year with the Monarchs on the ESPN special, episode 5, and seeing Matt Adams and Pete Kuzma and all these pro guys, have fun and play competitively was really a joy to watch.
How about the rule book, though? How do these teams prepare for have you published that?
Yeah, we have official rule book, and yes, we're getting a lot more teams and markets and tournaments that are looking to do officially licensed banana ball games. We're about to unveil something out in the next week or so that actually makes that even more official. But yeah, it's the 9 basic rules, and there's a few little addendums to it. But it's baseball just much faster, and all the really slow parts are changed to be more exciting and more entertaining.
Okay. So, and obviously I got to figure out a way to get to either your Peoria or your Milwaukee games somehow. And I'll just beg and maybe just get a ticket on the side.
Don't go to that's a whole nother conversation. So I just turned down $1 million order from a ticket reseller. A ticket reseller wanted to buy a huge group of tickets for every night and charge double. It would have been about $500,000 in extra profit, but I turned down immediately. The challenge is ticket resellers and scalpers are charging tickets $300-$400, 10 times face value. So yes, I hopefully don't go that route. That really frustrates me when people have to pay that amount to come to one of our games.
So all right, a couple of quickies, and then we'll want to get to the sort of wind-up question sort of on the end about baseball, because you mentioned the party animals as the team you're playing. Are they essentially I hate to keep using the analogy, the Washington Generals of yours as your competitor versus the challenger games that you're doing? And where do you find that talent to be those players?
100%. And let me be clear, I am flattered and honored. I understand the comparison to the Globetrotters. And in the Globetrotters in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, they changed the game of basketball. I mean, the NBA was booking them to help sell tickets to their games. The Globetrotters sold out Madison Square Garden twice in the same day. I mean, they had Wilt Chamberlain, and they played in front of 75,000 people in Berlin. I mean, they were everything. So I understand that comparison. It's different because the party animals, they beat the Bananas. I mean, they won the last 4 games of the tour. It's a complete, legit, competitive game on the field, but they're both very talented teams that also the goal is to entertain and bring fun. So that's kind of one of the biggest difference. But yeah, the party animals will play 50, 60 games, and they're stacked. I mean, like I said, they got first rounders. They got tons of guys playing pro ball last year. They're legit, and I think it's going to be they might be actually a little more favored than the Bananas this year, to be honest.
Are they owned and operated by you, or are they a separate entity altogether?
Yep, they're under our umbrella. So we train and coach, and every day they're out here. We have entertainment practice rehearsals where we're doing all of our entertainment stuff, and then they're doing their social media stuff, and then they're having their baseball stuff. So it's a full day of both teams working hard and then competing against each other.
All right, so here's sort of the multi-part sort of final sort of set of questions here. So what you're doing with Banana Ball, right, in many respects is also, to the outside observer, probably also maybe unwittingly helping change thought process around the traditional game's rule base as well, right? How much do you feel that what you've done thus far is either currently or potentially in the future influencing perhaps the evolution of the traditional baseball game? I'm probably for good, right? With timing and that, because the timing of this is really interesting, right? The quote unquote new rules that are coming into Major League Baseball after some experimentation in the minor leagues. I mean, your conversion to this touring and branded style of the game is coming almost at the time where it seems like Major League Baseball is recognizing that they've got a product problem.
Yeah, and I think that's very kind. I mean, it's something I don't think about. I've been asked that before. It's like, you think you're making an impact on the game. And I think, every night we're trying to create the greatest show in sports and deliver the best fan experience. Like I put all my focus, all my ideas, everything in our team goes into that. If it helps the game, great. We've seen Major League attendance obviously decline 13 million plus over the last 15 years, and Little League participation decline. And we know the average baseball fan is now in their 60s. We see the challenges. And I just, every day I'm playing for, and our players are playing for, often them as a kid, trying to get those 6, 7, 8-year-olds to want to go out and just have fun and not be so competitive and not be so serious and be able to connect with the players. I mean, I used to do the Hideo Nomo lineup. I used to do the Nomar Garcia pair, batting gloves. I used to turn my hat around backwards like Ken Griffey Jr. We're all of us, the Bananas and the Party Animals, we're going to be doing all of that stuff so kids can connect with the players and try to emulate who they are and who they want to be. And I think there's a big opportunity in Major League Baseball to do more of that. The NBA has done a tremendous job, and soccer and NFL. And if we can help spark that for kids, great. If it affects baseball as a whole, amazing.
It's an interesting time that you're embarking on this world tour and the Banana Ball brand, so to speak, beyond just the Savannah market. Because baseball, I think, has recognized, begrudgingly perhaps, that they've gotten there's an issue with the product, right? And the National League and the American League, there's no distinctions anymore. They're all playing each other. The pitch clock is coming in. It's just an interesting time. I guess the question in there is, what do you think is happening to baseball and, frankly, the minor leagues? Is it any fun anymore during the minor leagues because they're so now marching to the same drumbeat of Major League Baseball as an overlord?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. And to be honest, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. I guess I stay in the bubble focusing on what we can do. But I think Major League Baseball has really a unique opportunity to look at the relationship they're building with their fans. And yes, they're growing and they're driving the most revenue they've ever had. They broke the record again on revenue and the TV rights deals and everything. But bringing back to, I remember watching the When It Was a Game on HBO Sports, and you show, literally during spring training, the fans cooking brownies and cookies for the players and them interacting and just the connection. I think right now, because fans can connect with anybody. I mean, that's why YouTube influencers and TikTokers have millions and millions of followers, because you're getting to know them. You're getting to know who they are and what they're about and what they like and what they don't like. And I think right now, Major League Baseball has to think about that. Yes, you got to make the product better, and it's got to be faster, and it's got to be more engaging. But more than anything, I think you got to break down the barriers between the players and the fans. And that's the number one thing we are looking at doing right now with the Bananas.
Will there be any television or other media for this, or is this solely an experience that one has to hopefully secure a ticket to?
No, yeah, we were fortunate. We had a great deal with ESPN this past year. So we had 8 games on ESPN Plus and ESPN2. And we are getting reached out to pretty regularly for our TV rights, because our ratings are very, very high, to say the least, because of our following. So, we were putting very strong ratings out on the ESPN Plus and even on our YouTube. So we will have the games available on our YouTube. We know that if we're playing at a 10,000 stadium, we could have 10 times that plus, which we're showing watching our games on YouTube. So, yep, we'll have the games live there. It is a different experience from live with our Banana Pep Band and our breakdancing coaches and all of our characters, Princess Potassia, where you get to see it a live experience. But obviously, you'll get to see the game of Banana Ball either on YouTube or with some of these new broadcast partners that have been reaching out to us.
All right, and last question, and then I'm going to let you promote, which is kind of dangerous for somebody like yourself. But you've got other stuff too, like the book and stuff. So can you give some hints? I mean, I know you need to still do a postmortem. This is the first time you're going sort of on this sort of extended beyond just your market thing. You're outside of the leagues. Your first year doing this new sort of model. Are there any kind of sort of just kind of things that you think are on the next 3 to 5 year horizon? I mean, don't give away any secrets, so to speak, or some of your evil or good genius behind you. But what do you think this evolves to based on a preseason thus far without a year under your belt yet?
Well, we actually had a year on our belt. So last year we did 7 cities. So we did Kansas City, we did Major League Spring Training Homes in West Palm. We played banana ball, and we're very fortunate to. That's what really we learned so much. Playing in front of 75,000 fans, doing banana ball in different cities. Now, obviously, going coast to coast, California to New York to 32 cities, playing in front of 550,000 fans. It'll be a bigger test. But yeah, I mean, we've been so fortunate. Again, we've heard from about 12 to 15 major league stadiums that have made offers for us to play at their stadium in 2024. We're looking at playing. We got a lot of international opportunities. We're going to create some international tournaments of banana ball. We're going to really continue to build the game of banana ball because we just believe it's a faster paced, more entertaining game for the younger generation. We look at boxing and UFC. Boxing is great. It'll always be great. And then, obviously UFC came around for a younger generation. And, we see that similar with baseball. Major League Baseball is going to be the best baseball in the world forever. I have no question about that. But, are we more of that UFC, a little bit disrupted, doing a younger audience? I think so. And so that's what we're going to build. And there's a lot of people that have reached out and, or you could about building a banana ball league. And, there's things that we think about in the future, but everything we're doing is trying to go to these different cities, different markets and build the fan base, connect with them and create something special and see where we go from there. So I wouldn't be shocked if you see a lot more banana ball in the future.
Okay. Well, that the league word was what I was listening for. And that's interesting because that's a whole sort of other level. And we've seen sort of that in a lot of our explorations and stuff. And yeah, you're right. It clearly seems like where you could fit in sort of the sports landscape, and you recognize, right? And then this is actually very historical, right? I mean, the 2 centuries almost, or a century and a half at least, of American sports innovation and evolution and stuff, right, has been fueled by outsiders and innovators trying to not only perhaps tinker within the boundaries, but trying to create, disruption, if you will, and evolution from the outside. And maybe it's not fully architected yet, but it's clear your fans first kind of mentality. All you're doing is you're recognizing some of the issues, the pitfalls, the distractions, the boringness of some of the traditional game, and just trying to make them better with a better product.
The simplification, I think, is great. I mean, you look at even T20 in cricket, what's happened.
Good analogy.
That's what we've been compared to as well. And I think people on the outside just see all the clips and the craziness and the circus, but it's a very talented, exciting game to watch, even without all the hijinks. And so that's what we're building. And yeah, it's fun. I think the key is we tell everyone on our staff, our players, our team, follow your energy. If it's giving you energy, let's keep doing it. Let's keep doing it. And I have more energy in our cast. I mean, we travel with 125 to 130 people to every city. That's 4 times what the Globetrotters travel with. I mean, we are going all out. The pep band, the male cheerleading team, the breakdancing coaches, all the talent, the hosts, the DJs. We bring everything. And we're doing what's unscalable because we're obsessed with creating fans. And we're going to try to create the best experience. And I think in the long run, that hopefully will work out.
All right. Besides the tour, let's promote here. So tell us how fans can at least find out what cities you're in and getting on waiting lists. And then also tell me about the book that's coming out in May, because frankly, that also seems like another angle of the evolution of this business of yours, almost into a I'm going to call it sort of, it's almost like these are business lessons that are also perhaps applicable to people's business lives and maybe even their personal lives beyond just, hey, here's a cool team that's coming to play a new brand of sport, right?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, we're easy to find. It's funny. I'd rather just add value than try to promote anything in the sense. But yeah, I mean, obviously, the bananas are easy to find on all the social media. I spend most of my time on LinkedIn, and I share the journey, the stories. Fortunate to have, my 3rd book coming out in May. Banana Ball, and that was, Penguin reached out to us, and we're working with Don Yeager, and just because of what's been happening, sharing the really origins of how this all happened. And yes, there's lessons and stories and things people never heard of before. The first 2 books, Find Your Yellow Tux, after I got the opportunity to give a keynote speech in front of a group of accountants at ProfitCon, they said, you have to write that in a book. And I put out a book and been very fortunate with that. And then Fans First is really the ethos of who we are. That came out last May. And that is about the 5 E's to create raving fans. And it's something I've been fortunate to share all over the country in speeches, but also just it's what built us and how I think any company can think about how they do things. It's not about chasing customers, especially with sports teams. It's not about trying to drive sales or drive revenue. It's trying to create fans. And if you do that, the revenue, the profits, the sales, the business, everything else takes care of itself. So I love sharing the business journeys because you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I've spent probably more time with Walt Disney, P.T. Barnum, Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs, Cirque du Soleil, WWE, Grateful Dead. That's where I learn from so much, and I try to apply it to what we're doing, and I love sharing.
All right. Well, I apologize. I thought I didn't know that the book has been out for a year. It's in paperback now and all that kind of stuff. So we'll promote the heck out of all those.
Well, you don't need to. That's Fans First. So Fans First and Finding Yellow Ducks. Banana Ball comes out in May. So Banana Ball is the one with Penguin and Don Yeager. Yeah. Okay, fantastic. We look forward to not all that, but we also look forward to, and we wish you nothing but success on this incredible next chapter of your journey. I'm sure the adventure is going to be another level, and hopefully documentation of that, not just video, but perhaps another book that sort of outlines the whole year and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I cannot imagine what fun awaits you as you literally have the ability to bring Banana Ball, the team, the whole ethos to other parts of the United States. And it would seem to me like you're well on your way to further spreading this thing that you've uniquely created for yourself. And I'm just honored that we had the chance to talk to you as you continue to ascend, and just remember us down the road when you get to that other level that we were hopefully on your side. Certainly not in the beginning, but maybe in the middle of it. No, that's very kind. Like I said, I'm a fan of your show. I've listened to a lot of episodes, the research you do and the in-depth. And, I've learned from the stories of the ABA and some of these other leagues. And I've done so much research, and you've helped with that. So I appreciate you and the time that you put into it. And definitely let's stay in touch. We feel like we're just in the first inning right now. So we've got a long journey, and we're excited for it. All right. Fantastic. And boy, this is going to be some fun summer for sure. The Savannah Bananas coming to a town near you. You want to see the schedule and see where perhaps you can get onto the waiting list. Tickets are already sold out completely. But if you want to get on the waiting list for these various markets around the country and literally learn about the rest of all of it, the team, the story, the gear to get, of course. They even have camps, all kinds of great stuff. The place to go is thesavannahbananas.com. And don't forget to spell Savannah correctly. That's Savannah. Thesavannahbananas.com, and you'll see all of that stuff. And we're talking about the Midwest, the East Coast, the West Coast, a little bit of everything in between as well. Should be dynamite, should be also on television as well. And also as your companion either to traveling to those games or instead of a couple of books for you. The one that's coming out in May, depending on when you're listening to this, it will drop in May, is called Banana Ball. It is going to be this story. It's co-written between Jesse and Don Yeager. It is published by Dutton. The subtitle is The Unbelievably True Story, as you can imagine as in our conversation of the Savannah Bananas. That comes out in early May. And the two books that are currently out, more a bit of inspirational, I think, learnings from what Jesse and his team have evolved and learned. And I would argue more applicable to, say, your own business or your career and that kind of stuff. One is called Fans First, Change the Game, Break the Rules, and Create an Unforgettable Experience. So a little bit of a taste of what's been going on with the Savannah Bananas. And the other one is called Find Your Yellow Tux, How to Be Successful by Standing Out. And those books are also available. And they've been out there for a little while. We encourage you to get those too. The best place, of course, and giving us a few shekels of referral love, is to go to our website at goodseatsstillavailable.com. Just search up this episode number 291 with Jesse Cole, and you will find convenient links to all three of those books, even if the first one is still in a pre-order fashion.
and we'll get a pat on the back, if you will, and maybe a couple of pennies thrown our way, and we appreciate that. While you're there, of course, you'll see every stinking episode we've ever done. If you just want to stream it there or grab one and send it to a friend or two to get them hopefully hooked on the show. Of course, you can subscribe or follow us wherever podcasts are found. Literally, there is no place that's legit out there that our podcast is not available. So there is no excuse not to subscribe or follow or whatever it is to ensure that you get every single episode the minute, the second, the nanosecond that it is available. Best way to follow us. Of course, on social media too. On Twitter, you'll find us at Good Seats Still. On Instagram, we're at Good Seats Still Available. And on Facebook, there's a little page devoted to us there too. Good Seats Still Available. Our email address, please, by all means, send us your good, your bad, your indifferent thoughts. We always appreciate it at hello@goodseatsstillavailable.com. And our thanks, of course, as always, to the great Jerry Payne. Jerry Payne, audio excellence. There is none better than the great Dr. Jerry Payne. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a hell of a lot of fun. And until next week, we will see you. I appreciate it. Take care. Bye.